Hello, folks. How you doing? It's a great turnout. Thanks so much for coming and spending your evening with us. I really appreciate it. We were talking before about how much energy we get from this, especially in San Francisco, getting to compare notes with everybody about all the things that we're building. It's all moving so fast, so it's just get so much energy to these kind of events. So I'm Jordan Neill. I'm Intercom's COO. I've spent most of my time the last couple of years working on Fin, our AI agent for customer service, customer experience. I'm here with Baris from Snowflake. Can you introduce yourself?
Of course, yes. Hi everyone. Welcome. My name is Baris. I'm head of product for AI at Snowflake.
Thank you very much. Okay. The thing I wanted to start with is Snowflake and Intercom, I think, have gone on an interesting, similar journey the last few years. Like we both had a product in a domain. We were using machine learning on that. It was all good. And then the world completely changed with generative AI. And I think both companies went very heavy into it, changing, the mission of the company, the purpose of the company, like how we work, the kind of roles we have, etc. So I'd love to hear more about your time at Snowflake. You kind of joined to help be part of this transition. So
Yeah. So I joined Snowflake about 2.5 years ago. When my company was acquired, essentially our team came in and then became the AI team. And it's been a wild ride. Essentially it was a 0 to 1 journey. A huge part was our CEO, who was my co-founder at the startup, became the CEO of Snowflake. He lives and breathes AI. So his drive for the whole organization made a huge difference in both focusing and then developing AI as well as adopting AI organization-wide. So the journey has been starting with very customer driven, understanding what customers are asking for, and then very quickly trying to build it, and then build the next layer, and then build the next layer. And of course, while we're doing it, the world is changing. Models are getting a lot better. So what you can do with them is improving substantially. So, stuff that used to not work started working, and we built more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to. It's a common thing. You got to really push to find the limits of what is possible, because it's going to be pretty possible pretty soon. Right. So yeah, if you're not pushing, you're going to end behind. The Sridhar is the CEO, right? And like very, very AI forward.
Yeah.
You actually shared with me. So one of the many products you work on is Cortex Code, is like your recent agent for helping people write the queries inside Snowflake.
Yeah.
Sridhar is effectively PMing that.
He absolutely is. So we have a product called Cortex Code. You can think of it as Claude Code, but specifically focused on data tasks. So being able to build data pipelines, being able to build agents inside Snowflake, overall very, very powerful. As all of you, we're all experiencing the power of these coding agents, and then this coding agent specifically, does a lot of data stuff. We love it, and Sridhar primarily is driving the product and the vision for it, for sure. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I love chatting to other people who have built like real agents at scale. Just so we can compare notes on how easy it is. It's really easy to build an agent, right? Is correct?
It is getting easier to build agents. We used to talk about it as a iceberg problem. It's always easy to build demos and POCs. Real world is messy. So when you start getting into how do I get to very high quality, that takes effort.
Yeah, totally. Like that's the cliche at this point, right? Like you can vibe code a prototype in a weekend and it does amazing demos,
right?
But the delta between that, the effort between that, and getting something that's actually reliable at scale is very different.
Yeah.
And the idea that an AI agent that there's different kinds of quality bars or different tolerances or different priorities depending on the type of agent. So I was thinking about, if you're building an internal agent if the finance team have built a tool for themselves and the agent for themselves doing a job, there's probably quite a lot of tolerance for errors because it's an expert reviewer. Like the expert will see the output and go, okay, that's not quite right. It's nearly there. That's useful. I'll take the extra mile. That's very different if you have for Fin, for example, speaking to a customer who is obviously not an expert in the product. Fin has a much higher standard. Fin needs to be very accurate in what it's saying and not make things up and know when not to reply and all that stuff. And I was thinking another product you have, Cortex Analyst, is kind of similar, right? It's well, maybe you can explain it.
Yeah, happy to explain it. So yeah, exactly. So Cortex Code is our builder-facing product, and of course, folks who are using it are close to data. They understand it. They can guide the model, guide the agent, and get a great outcome. we have a product for business users, Snowflake Intelligence. It's essentially a product that is built on top of a platform we give to our customers. So our customers build agents for their users. There, you have to be accurate. This is abstracting the detail, and usually it's been very hard for LLMs to do a great job with structured data. Writing SQL is not as easy as just writing Python, because it needs a lot of context. Over time we invested heavily in that to be able to write very high quality SQL, so that when you ask, what was my revenue in New York, you get an exact answer. So there is no room for error there.
Another thing actually that is kind of, the delta between building an agent for yourself, like just, like for one company to play with, versus an agent that is going to work for an arbitrary number of companies with like I was thinking about you with like the different data schemas and semantic layer and stuff, like, analysts need to be able to work with anything reliably, which again is a harder problem than an internal agent for one company.
Absolutely, yeah. So we were actually trying to frame this problem. The realization is the models are getting incredibly good. So what is in the way of having a lot of impact is the context. So you need to have a shared understanding, especially if you have systems that are complex in multiple different places. Having a shared understanding of that context is incredibly important for agents to agree and then to execute, right? So that's where kind of semantics come in, business understanding. When you talk about some acronyms, it needs to be understood and so forth. So it's crucial.
How do you know it's working? Like, the answer to this is evals, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like really good eval system. What are the other ways how do you know that it's actually doing the job well?
Yeah, so evals is at the core of it. So what we've done for our products is, so we have our own kind of test harness, and we do evals ourselves. And then for our customers, we made it relatively easy to go generate evaluation data sets, run this evaluation data set against the agent, and then based on that, automatically go and optimize the system, the orchestration instructions, the semantic models, and so forth, and then keep iterating in an automated loop. So trying to bring as much automation as possible, so agents building other agents becomes a possibility.
Yeah. Maybe a contrarian view we have at Intercom at this point is that evals are essential, totally. Like they are the engine that help you, build your loop internally. But there's no substitute for the real world. Like no eval is like the incident recently with Waymo, for example, right? There was a power outage in San Francisco and all the Waymos just stopped dead in the middle of the street. They hadn't built an eval for that yet, right? Like the real world is messy in all the edge cases. Like for us with Fin, we, there are similar products to Fin. They're often a common way that companies are doing it right now is, building bespoke agents per company effectively. And that's great that works for that company, but it's hard. It doesn't benefit from improving it for one company. It doesn't help others. And we're kind of lucky with the way we've built Fin is, something like 8,000 customers doing millions of conversations every week. So we get a lot of signal on whether we're doing a good job or not. And we're very lucky in that the person, it's somebody coming with a customer support query, they have a problem and they usually tell us whether they got a solution to that or not. And then the company has a vested interest in Fin doing a good job. So even if the user thought they got a good answer, but the company wasn't happy with how Fin gave the answer, they'll tell us that.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of good signal. What's the, are there equivalents for you with Cortex or with code and analyst? Like how do you beyond evals, how do you know that it's doing the right job for you?
Yeah. And it is tricky because, Snowflake is a data platform, and for a data platform, of course, there's a lot of data privacy that we have for our customers. So the way we've set up our system is we do ask for kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. That kind of information goes to the agent owner, and then we work very closely with the agent owners to get signal for us. One of the ways we try to have our systems improve is by building in kind of automated self-improvement directly into the product. So as that thumbs up, thumbs down gets given, there's agent memory. The agent memory learns. The agent memory looks at cross users and then suggests improvements to the agent admin. So that feedback loop is all within a customer.
Nice. Yeah, somebody in the audience we were talking about earlier is like this beginning to have like real, like, Fin again is like an agentic system. It's making decisions, but we're working on the higher level now of having Fin understand what's going on with your customer experience and trying to self-reflect and make improvements to the system. And just going further and further down that path, we're going to have agents improving agents, and these autonomous improvement loops that are going to far surpass what it was possible for humans to do. People just didn't have the time or dedication or focus to be able to relentlessly go through those loops. I think it's remarkable what's going to be possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. We were actually talking about this. Today we spend majority of our time, from a Snowflake perspective, people are querying the system. It's all manual. And then you're going to a stage where agents are going to be doing all of this. So the human time is going to be spent on kind of steering, governing, and monitoring these agents, and then taking final action at some point. Even that will be automated. So more and more automation is coming. At the same time, you have to create the right guardrails so that all of this is in a kind of secure, governed environment.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. That's definitely want to chat about the enterprise adoption side of this.
Sure.
One other thing that's on my mind that is similar between Intercom and Snowflake, Fin Snowflake, is we both have strategic relationships with the big frontier labs. OpenAI, Anthropic. Anthropic is a key partner of ours and a shared partner with Snowflake.
Yep.
And yet we are both building our own models as well. Mm-hmm. Like, why bother? What are you doing and why are you doing it?
Absolutely. So exactly. So we're working with Anthropic, OpenAI, we host all the models and have deep partnerships with them. For anything that requires frontier models reasoning, which is majority of our agent capabilities, we're using these models. For Snowflake, there are task-specific cases. You can imagine you have millions of rows that you want to classify, do sentiment analysis on, or transcribe, translate. So we built a series of task-specific functions that are optimized for that in a very high throughput scenario, so that these can run quickly, they're cheap, and really effective for the task that they're supposed to do. We've invested heavily in things like document extraction, which is really important to go from unstructured documents to structure that can be used on Snowflake to kind of connect with your other data. So those are the types of things that are very task specific that we've optimized, and we've built our own models. The one call out is we've built our own embedding model as well for search. So when Neill, the startup that got acquired, came in, the Neill was a search engine, so we had a lot of the search technology and the data to create very high quality embedding models. So that's another one that we built.
So yeah, like I think this is similar where when we're doing something new, we don't yet know what the right way to accomplish the thing is. We often just reach for what's the beefiest, smartest model we can possibly pick, work it out. And then try to do, to optimize latency or cost, or more importantly, even just quality. Like there's a lot of things we're finding where, the intelligence is saturated. Like the latest model is way overpowered for what is actually required for this particular knowledge job. Yeah. And in fact, we get a lot of edge by taking that thing and post-training pre-training on, task-specific things. You get better performance that way.
Absolutely, exactly. You get better performance. You get latency benefits, cost benefits, all of it.
We've trained our own re-rankers and retrieval models and models for summarization and stuff. And the fun fact is that our retrieval model is the base model we used for that was Arctic from Snowflake.
That's awesome.
It was a great model that performed very well, and really it was like small, like fast and
fast, very efficient,
really great. And then trained with just some domain-specific things for customer service, customer experience, just like boosted it massively for the same costs and latency envelope. It was great.
Fantastic.
It's really cool. Okay, let's chat about, by the way, we'll leave time for Q&A at the end if people have questions. The next thing in my mind was to chat about enterprise. So obviously, the thing in my mind is that it feels like there's, similar to the saturated, there's a huge technology overhang at this point. The future is here, it's not evenly distributed. Like the technology is capable of remarkable things. The average Fin customer sees 67% of their conversations being resolved by Fin, but there are companies like Intercom themselves who are saying like 85% of their conversations being resolved autonomously. But most companies aren't getting anywhere near that. But most companies aren't using something like a Fin at all yet, or they're using something that's kind of like older generation, and they're getting a 30% resolution rate, and they think they're doing a great job, and it's sitting there waiting for them. But the adoption is far lagging the actual capabilities. And it's something, again, Intercom and Snowflake are trying to bring this technology to the enterprise to make it like actually valuable things happen. You see a bigger diversity of use cases than we do, obviously. So I'm interested in what you're seeing. What's actually happening in enterprise? Are people still just doing, internal prototypes, or are they starting to actually do real things?
I think it's been a journey, right? Just a couple of years ago, there was a lot of fear. What's going to happen with my data? And there were a lot of kind of AI governance boards that are trying to figure out what to do about it. And as models kept getting better, it became very obvious that there is an amazing technology out there, amazing tool. So, if you're not doing something about it, you're falling behind. So I'm realizing, especially in the last few months, a strong awareness. People are aware of what these tools are capable of and how they can use it, and a strong urgency to go do something about it. If I'd say a year and a half ago, it was all about POCs, people trying to understand what's possible. Now there is real, many customers have production systems. They're seeing a lot of ROI from it. And then the conversation has shifted tremendously, especially in the last few months. The conversation has shifted from what should we do? Maybe we should have some trials to, oh my God, this has to be core for us. Everyone has to be working on AI, doing something here. Otherwise, we're going to be left behind.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody in Intercom not using Claude Code daily now. Like in all teams, like the FP&A team, the recruitment team, everybody's just
Absolutely. Yeah. So one example is I was on a call with a customer yesterday, and the sales representative that was looking after the customer said, "Yeah, I realized that your consumption dropped. So I asked the coding agent what's going on. The coding agent gave me information about it, and I said, well, create an anomaly detector, and then send me an email when next time this happens." So having someone that has no coding experience do that within a couple of 10 minutes, 20 minutes is incredible.
Yeah, it's going to transform everything. That's actually I assume a common use case for Snowflake is there's so much data sitting in Snowflake about everything about your customers, and we at Intercom started building a bunch of internal tooling based on top of that to be able to understand what's going on with our customers and what are the opportunities and so. So that sounds like a common enough use case that is going on.
Yeah.
What are the other kind of use cases you've seen?
Yeah. So for Snowflake, for instance, we built a sales agent. And deployed it to 6,000 sellers in the organization. It is a very powerful tool. You can look at things like what's my book of business, where's the consumption going, what are the opportunities, or also do things like competitive analysis. Essentially, a system that connects to 10 other data sources, brings it all together, and then gives you a very powerful interface to ask natural language questions. Anywhere from, I'm meeting this customer, what should I talk to them about AI, to, why is the consumption of this customer going down? So super powerful. So that's on the sales side, but every single function is getting transformed, right? Every single function is, building their own agents. This morning, our head of marketing was talking about the marketing agent he built just for himself. Takes a PRD and then creates, blog posts and, press releases and so forth. And this is just something that he just built on the side.
get back to Sridhar PMing the Cortex, roles have lost all meaning, I think, and it's going to keep happening. Okay, so enterprises get it now. They're like, okay, cool, we got to get this AI thing. No concerns, no issues. It's really easy. Is that what you're seeing?
I mean, the time it takes to build a high quality agent is going down. I'll give you an example. The sales agent I talked about, it took about 3 months for the team to build that with high quality. And you can imagine the complexity. So this is, you're asking structured data questions, and kind of deep reasoning requirements. So the Sridhar's, our CEO's challenge for us is, what can you do to bring that number from 3 months to 3 days? And of course, you have to build a lot of agentic tooling to be able to go do that. So, when we launched our Cortex Code, our coding agent, agent creation and optimization is one of the core capabilities that we brought in, so that anyone building these agents can get to very high accuracy relatively quickly. So we're investing heavily in that space, and the time it takes to build high quality agent is going down.
I think that's, definitely agree with that. It's the building side. I don't think that's the bottleneck with enterprise. It's still adoption, right? It's still back to certain stuff. So yeah,
I see what you're saying.
What are you seeing that gets in? What's getting in the way? Why is this not already being widely adopted in every enterprise?
Yeah. I mean, it's habit, right? So we're trying to break habits. It's not enough when the CEO sends an email and says, hey, everybody should be using AI. But then you say, okay, you sure, and I'll issue one query here, and then go back to how I do things. So it's a fundamental transformation of how business is done, and that's kind of easier for some folks, harder for other folks. It's a full transformation that is happening. So I think that's in the way, and usually what enables it is the senior leadership deeply understanding what is possible, and then transforming the whole organization. Given all of that, that is the fastest way to see the impact.
Yeah, there are like very novel concepts here. Like a common one for us is you're very used to buying software that helps humans do customer support. Now you're buying software that does customer support. And some of the old mental models don't necessarily work. Like, hey, I don't have the software budget for that this year. It's like, why are we talking about software budget, right? What's your total cost of ownership for customer support? That's what you should be looking at. But it's for the people that typically buy software in this space, that's a very new thing. It's like kind of similar to the transition to SaaS in the early 2000s, like going from you run the software yourself on servers that you have hundreds of people to manage to, okay, I'm going to log in via a web browser. It's a very novel thing that we take for granted now, and we're going through that transition. Absolutely. The other side that I see in enterprise hesitancy, and it's getting much easier now, is reliability, security, yes, all that kind of stuff. Like, so we've had to deal with reassuring people that we have all of the relevant ISO certifications and HIPAA, and like one we got recently was a new certification for AI agents, AIUC1, and it's a certification. It's kind of like an ISO type thing, but it's very dedicated towards AI agents, in particular useful for us with people who are trusting Fin with their brand and their reputation. So this is an independent third party that does a bunch of tests, like red teaming Fin, effectively trying to get Fin to do terrible things. And that third party certification helps people. They don't just have to take our word for it. That like trust Fin, Fin's really good. This like third party body that is expert at this is saying, yeah, this is good. You can trust this. Snowflake, I think you've got a lot of advantages there on that trust side as well.
Yeah, I think it is all about trust. Another reason why AI doesn't get adopted is because of concerns about trust. And trust includes both do I trust the answer? So it's about accuracy, as well as all of the security and governance around it. And for Snowflake, that was actually the core design principle. We wanted to make sure that we bring AI next to data rather than bring data out to AI. When we do that, you are already within the security boundary that is all secure from a Snowflake perspective, right? So you have access controls that are all respected. Everything that you put on the data gets respected because AI is running next to it. So governance is an incredibly important part of what we do.
It's a huge advantage Snowflake has, right? So if I'm running Like, so, we use Snowflake in Intercom. And, one of the things you have is like in your SQL query, you can run an AI command. You can, ask, that you have a specific, commands, but you also have like general prompts, like just like, summarize this data for me or like stuff. When I can choose which model I want to run that on. I can, things like Llama and stuff. But if I'm using Claude or GPT there, that the actual inference is happening inside Snowflake.
It's happening inside the Snowflake security boundary.
That's huge. This is just such a competitive advantage for you. Like that, eases a bunch of enterprise concerns out.
Absolutely. Exactly.
It's really cool. Okay, with all of this in mind, the last topic I have is, so, I'm an enterprise. I want to go do something with AI. Should I build it all myself from scratch, or should I go buy some third-party tool? Like, what's the answer to that question?
I think the answer to that question is both, right? So
good answer, right? I think it's like build on top of the platform.
Build on top of the stuff. The platform offers a lot of the capabilities that you'd have to build anyway. So rather than starting from scratch, getting there, and then building on top of it, you can just build on the platform. The platform offers a ton of capabilities, a ton of expansion capabilities. So there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, but also kind of you can accelerate substantially by solving novel problems that are specific to what you're trying to build.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's in Intercom, we've thought this for a long time about try and outsource your undifferentiated heavy lifting. If there's a problem that every company has to solve, and there's some third party you can buy that has solved that problem, buy that, and then put all of your effort into like the specific domain expertise that you have that's like your differentiated advantage. And find a platform like Snowflake or Fin that helps you to get both. Helps you like focus on the thing that matters to you, that's differentiated for you, and benefit from a holistic platform.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're also Intercom customers, and we love Fin. Our team was evaluating options, and the accuracy that you can get from the product is awesome. So kudos to you.
Didn't even pay to say that. That's great. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move over to chat. Let's kind of going to move over to questions now. We start handing mics around. Please ask lots of hard questions to Snowflake and the easy ones to Fin, please. Start in the front here.
Hello, Get. I have a hard question for Snowflake. All right. I'm curious how you see like the evolution of Snowflake. Will it be like a platform? You already have a data mode, I believe. And for new players, maybe like advice for younger entrepreneurs, do you believe that big players like incumbents in data space have already such mode defensibility, and with all AI acceleration, it's going to be on top of the data that already there, and it's just like LLM's gonna connect with Snowflake and maybe in a sandbox build apps which are secure for enterprise, and that's pretty much it. And there is no need for maybe, so it's kind of, if something can be built on Snowflake data, it will be built, and that's it. If something is not yet can be built on Snowflake data, for example, it's different domains, then there is probably opportunities for founders to find a niche. How we see that?
I mean, I think there's opportunities for founders to build on Snowflake. So Snowflake has an amazing partner network and the mentality to be a platform so that applications and applications can be built on top of Snowflake. So the advantage that businesses would have is if you're operating within the Snowflake boundary, it's much easier a sell for Snowflake's customers, for instance, because you don't have it's much easier to get through security checks and so forth. At the same time, I think the world is changing a lot. So it's I wouldn't say that the only way to build a product that works with Snowflake is to only build on Snowflake's platform at all. AI is incredibly transformative. There are a ton of opportunities. The way we think about this, like, we'd like to provide a lot of powerful capabilities for founders like yourselves to build on Snowflake. That is, by making you successful, we succeed. So that's the mental model we have.
Yeah, and maybe just clarification. I'm as a founder, and many folks are kind of afraid of, like, you build something and then overnight Anthropic or OpenAI just release it, and your startup, you raised capital last year for one thing, and then like in one day it just gets implemented by someone else.
Just want to interrupt and say, like, the correct response. Paranoia is the only correct response here. Only the paranoid survive. Like I just like think about what you're building and thinking about how what you're doing has differentiated value at the edges. Is really pushing to the boundary of what is possible, and you're building deep domain expertise into what it is that you're doing. But it's I warranted paranoia. Sorry, I don't have a more comforting answer for you.
All right, thank you.
Maybe I will say is, like, just try and pick a problem that is big enough that it would survive. Like it isn't going to be like a small thing that somebody else can deal with. But then if it's big enough to survive, it's probably big enough for Anthropic or OpenAI to care about. So it's also like it's a tricky situation to be in.
A question for Snowflake. In terms of model customization, like how you're thinking, like from data value chain, like from like reverse ETL or ETL to getting insights like with traditional BI tools, or vertical specific, or both?
Yeah. So if for us, the model customization, Jordan was saying, it becomes a thing to do once you have a lot of data and scale. So default is to start with a large model, get usage, get users, and at some point you want to optimize it. You want to optimize it for latency reasons, cost reasons, and so forth. And where you want to optimize becomes obvious. So for us, it's been not necessarily building vertical specific models, but rather building these kind of small task specific models for certain scenarios. We built our own text to SQL model, for instance. That is very unique to Snowflake for the tasks that we're doing. But again, we did not work on this until we had a lot of scale and a lot of data to warrant it.
Yeah. Coming back here 1 second.
To follow up on the chain of optimizing and training your own models, you guys also mentioned that you were building agents that built your agents better and improve them. How have you guys found those both to work at the same time? Are you optimizing models and optimizing the agents underneath? Would that introduce confounding variables, or are they separate?
Yeah, no, those are separate. So what I was referring to is agents building other agents. The way our platform works is, we have our own, models, and then the platform is for our customers to build agents. And for those scenarios, let's say that, for Snowflake, for instance, Snowflake building its own sales agent is built on top of the platform. So for that sales agent, there's a system that can go create an optimization to have high quality on that agent. That's separate from the platform capabilities itself, where there's text-to-SQL models, there's retrieval, there's a bunch of other things that are kind of below at the platform level.
I will, I think where you're getting towards, what you're hinting at, the question behind your question is, this is building an AI agent is a vertically integrated stack. Like the consumer of the agent, for us, the people configuring their Fin, building their Fin, putting their domain expertise into Fin, the way they write that interacts with our harness layer, which I think might be the right term for that now, which also interacts with the model that we use. And these things are fairly tightly coupled. If you change the model, it'll all change. If you change how the harness works, it'll all change. If you change the terminology, it'll all change. So it is a tricky problem, and it's something we It's not, again, this is the vibe coding weekend prototype version of this. It might be obvious of like, oh, there's a new sonnet model. I'm going to upgrade the model. It's going to be great. And you find if you've got the right understanding of the domain and the right evals, you might find that actually it, at least unless you change your prompts, it might actually underperform for your use case, and you need to adapt the prompts. And these are kind of like the hard fought lessons you get from iterating and building these AI agents. And probably the hardest bit on that for us is, there is user-defined content in Fin deployments. Like there is the harness we build, there is the models that we use and build, but then the configuration of Fin is written by our customers. So we have to be able to build something that is resilient. As we iterate and improve the product, it doesn't break things unexpectedly for our customers because they haven't changed we don't want them to have to go and tweak their prompts continuously. So it's a next generation problem, I suppose.
Like it's is a private how did you build resiliency? And like I said, where
So the question for the video is, how do we build resilience into the system where, again, back to this idea, we have 8,000 customers configuring Fin, and like many of them we never talk to, right? Like we have forward deployed in engineers and customer success for getting people set up, but we also have a self-serve version of Fin. People can go and set up themselves. So it needs to work for people out of the box in that way. And yeah, that's there's no easy answers to it. I don't have a silver bullet. You just need to build a system that so you could imagine there being almost like we don't necessarily take, like one of the things that people can do with Fin is teach it what your tone of voice is. What is the way that you want your brand to speak? I used to think that was like a trivial problem. I used to think it was not a real problem. Like every thought they had a very specific tone of voice, but they all kind of averaged the same thing. Until I met Pirate Ship, one of our customers. They're like a last mile logistics company, and they have Fin talk like a pirate. They've took like Fin is like, ahoy there matey, your package is setting the high seas. It's really important to them. That's a key part of their brand, so it's important that they can configure Fin to do that. So that prompt effectively, you can imagine that we don't necessarily just put that directly into the prompt that we send to the LLM. There's almost like a compilation step or an interpolation step that happens to translate what the person has written into the format that we need that still adheres to what they wanted. It's like, so that's like one way of thinking about it. And then the other thing is giving you tools for managing this. So we've had to give, on top of that, we have tools for helping you write the configuration for Fin. So for example, if you can write different bits of guidance to Fin. In this scenario, you should ask this to a human. In this other scenario, you should always say these things. We have tools for helping you, AI tools for helping you identify when you have written something contradictory. It's like, hey, this guidance you've just written is directly contradictory to this other guidance you just wrote. And to your question, that's part of how we help idiot proof it, which was your word, not mine. Thanks.
Earlier on, you touched on how inference happens in Snowflake servers, and I think Jordan said that was like a great advantage for you guys. Just curious, what sort of customers care about inference residency, and why do they care about that?
So inference is not happening on Snowflake servers for some models. It is happening within the Snowflake security boundary. So there's a bit of difference. So what's important for customers is especially we talk about kind of certifications. So there's a series of data residency requirements for Snowflake, so the data cannot leave a certain boundary. They both in terms of where the data lives, as well as where the data is processed, how the data is processed, who has access to it, and so forth. So our security teams coming in ensure that whatever we're doing is compliant with all of that. So that's essentially, as long as things are happening within the Snowflake security boundary in a way that respects all of our policies and promises that we give to our customers, that's the goal.
There's a question from the gentleman down front here.
Straight, yes. I'll make my way over, Jordan. Hi. My question was just in terms of broad-based generalities for either of you, really. What are you seeing with your customers in terms of sort of the trade-off between capability and security? And then related, what's your overall sort of philosophy in terms of how you architect your product to sort of set them up for success in that sense? So sort of a general question, but I was just curious.
Yeah, if for us there is not much of a trade-off. Security and governance is critical. It's core. So you can't really give on that to get a lot of capabilities. Instead, what we try to do is to make sure that all of those are given as part of the platform, so that it's not a lot of work for our customers to build on top of. I'm not sure that answers it.
It's the same thing. Like it's security is a non-negotiable. So I don't think it, like, security itself has a adds a large constraint to capability either, but it restricts the amount of experimentation we can do with like certain models and things like that. But yeah, like security is non-negotiable. I was going to say for better or worse, but it's obviously for better. What I will say though is some of our customers, like we have a lot of customers in regulated industries, in finance or healthcare, where Fin cannot give medical advice or cannot offer financial advice, things like that. So we need to be able to, our customers need to be able to describe those guardrails that matter to them in a way that they can trust that Fin will adhere to. Some of the things we do there is like we have obviously a bunch of internal testing and frameworks and stuff for ensuring that those things are adhered to, and actor critic stuff and all this kind of stuff. But we also give our customers the ability to write effectively evals in the product, simulation tests, where they can describe, here's a scenario. A customer in Germany has this question. And here's the outcome we expect Fin to adhere to, or the things we expect Fin not to say. And Fin will, pretend to be the user, act as itself, and judge itself, right? 3 different versions of Fin basically in this thing. And then actually if the simulation test fails, it will also give you feedback on this failed because there's a problem with what you've written, or there's a problem with your test, or so it's 4 different AIs trying to get you to build that trust that Fin will always adhere to the guidance that you've given it.
And for us on the data side, by the way, having a lot of granular control over what is possible, so that governance layer is incredibly important. From the data layer to anything that the agent touches, as well as the agent itself. And then because we're building on a data platform, we kind of take that as given and for free. But that's been an incredibly powerful tool for our customers to build very high quality and governed agents.
Just see it? Or the microphone? It's the die. Actually.
Thank you. So let me ask you about the situation where they actually shit happens. You told us a lot about the evals, guardrails, you put it there. You suggested to use the certification and red team and evaluate it. Okay, we know our pitfalls. So, and then simple chatbot customer support handles refund, and instead of standard 20% discount, gives 2000% discount. What's the best practice to mitigate this?
Well, here's my question to you. Do you think any customer support human has ever made a mistake like that?
Oh, definitely. Well, human make a lot of mistakes, but nobody question that human, but everybody wants to question the agent.
Yeah, so it's back to this idea of you need to build trust that, so for a refund flow, for example, the way we do that as a product, we have full procedures where you describe your refund flow and you build the assimilation tests and all that stuff. And we put lots of effort into making sure that, this is one of the hard frontier problems right now, is a multi-step process. Making sure that is reliable is a hard thing to do, because imagine there's a 10-step process and each step is 95% reliable. The whole thing is useless. The whole thing is 50% reliable, right? So totally useless. So it's actually a hard problem. So, that's we're very proud of the system we built, and it works really well and it's reliable in this way. But we've had to build in things like the ability for you to put in deterministic logic in the mix of this natural language flow. So you can actually write code. You can actually be like, hey, like you can actually put in in this scenario, you could put in the refund is actually literally a line of Python code, for example. And Fin will execute that as code, not as a natural, a deterministic process or an indeterministic process.
We have time for one last question, Jordan.
Hi, I'm Alberto. So your product is changing with the artificial intelligence, the thing that you release with that. So how this is impacting like your way to sell to the customer? So it's changing also the storytelling that you tell to them, and how this reflecting also your revenue model. So you think your prices gonna change also because you're based more in outcomes than like a classic software model?
Yeah, so I'll start with the last question. Snowflake's revenue model is all based on consumption. So you only pay for what you consume, and we're doing the exact same thing with AI as well. So it's all consumption based, which is different actually from some of the other vendors out there where kind of these full end user facing systems are not. So we believe that's a great model. So you essentially only pay for what you use. How the story is changing absolutely is what's happening essentially is, it's a data platform, and there's a lot more data out there that you could now take advantage of and leverage, and you can get a lot more insight from that data, and you can also democratize that insight so that a lot more people can get insight. So AI is incredibly transformative when it comes to data. So we're and of course, we changed the name of the phrasing for Snowflake. It used to be Snowflake is a data cloud. We're calling it an AI data cloud. It's very, very transformative for Snowflake.
Yeah, Fin is very much like going further than the consumption based is the outcome based model. So we charge you when Fin does the job. We only charge you if Fin resolves the customer query, and it abstracts you away from. It aligns all the incentives, right? It aligns the incentives between Intercom and our customer. Like you only pay us when we do the job well, so we're incentivized to do the job well for you. It even incentivizes us internally in the company. Like the sales team already gets comped on having a good Fin setup that does good things for the customer, rather than in the past, in a seat space, it's like, hey, I sold the seat, I've done my job. It doesn't really matter how successful the customer is until renewal time. Whereas with Fin, it matters. Like Fin's earning its keep every day with every conversation. And another good side effect for that for us is like, because we have less technical customers usually, is it abstracts away like the token consumption, like the variability of that, we encapsulate it into one unit of work done with one price, and the fact that the amount of tokens being used in the models fluctuates and changes over time is our problem, not your problem.
Thank you both.
Thank you to all of you. I really appreciate it. Please hang around and grab a drink with us. And
A big round of applause, please, for Baris and Jordan.